Have the best guests to have this conversation with. Stephen A. Smith, the host of the Stephen A. Smith Show, and author, journalist, historian Bill O'Reilly. Gentlemen, thank you both for being with us. Bill O'Reilly, we talked a little bit last night about the pardons, and you said it was going to be iffy, but this point of how Trump starts motivating his agenda and executive orders and all the litigation, he can't really get it done himself. What do you think needs to happen for him to get Congress to act on what matters?
Yeah, there's a lot the president can do. This is Chris Cuomo on News Nation. This is like the new Fox channel. They're really coming up right now. A lot of people adding them and asking about them for their cable packages. And guess who's there? Stephen A. Smith. This isn't about a basketball game. This isn't about a football game. He's not crashing out on the Cowboys. We're going to talk about politics with Bill O'Reilly, some heavy hitters. Let's hear how Chris Cuomo breaks it down with Stephen A. Smith and Bill O'Reilly on News Nation.
Well, it depends what he wants to do. So there are two tracks here. There's the political track about pleasing his base, and then there's a realistic track about what can happen. So birthright citizenship, that's in the Constitution. Can't sign an executive order to overturn it. He knows that. But there's no downside for him to do it because his base likes it. So he gets popularity points. They used to call them brownie points, but it doesn't mean anything. Same thing with the pardons. He didn't go over each pardon, and some bad guys got out. About 10% of them shouldn't have been pardoned. And we've been doing it all day, looking at who got pardoned and what they did. About 10% shouldn't have been considered. But again, to Trump, he wants the popularity to continue in his precincts first, and then he'll get a...
Man, Bill O'Reilly, he's aging. Bill O'Reilly is aging before our eyes. I'm aging too. I haven't heard him speak in a while. I watched Bill O'Reilly years ago. He actually looks like he lost some weight, and not that he was heavy, but yeah, he sounds different, and his takes are very bad. Let's get back to it, and that's just horrific to say. I mean, what's the take, Bill? What's the qualification why they should have been or shouldn't have been released? I'm not going to get into J6. Let's get back to the clip.
Round to problem solve, and I believe he will. I believe that is coming.
So the question becomes motivating Congress to do what he can. Like, let's start with the big ticket items, Stephen A. It's got to be immigration.
Yeah, I don't like Bill. So if Chris Cuomo asked me, okay, what's Trump going to do? How is he going to motivate Congress, all that? I'm going to say Trump has all the leverage right now. People are more engaged right now than we've ever seen before. Chris Cuomo, how does he get a job from CNN to go to Patrick Bet-David to News Nation? Because people are engaged, especially on this side, whatever side you want to call this. And so Chris Cuomo can fall kind of on his feet here. Stephen A. Smith, where is he? He's not on CNN right now. He's on News Nation. So there's a lot of attention on this side where Trump is at. And what is more important than the First Amendment? I'll wait. You tell me. What is more important in our country than the First Amendment? There's nothing, at least in my book. So immigration's not, none of this stuff happens without the First Amendment. And that's where you start. That's my opinion. Trump has the leverage. He has the edict. He has the mandate. And that's the most important thing. And we don't have that in our country. It's being outsourced to what people are calling private companies. The private companies are shutting things down. Let's get back to it.
Immigration, right?
Yeah.
Now, you could argue TikTok may be stepping in front of it right now, and he may need Congress for that also.
Yeah.
But when you look at like the win-loss percentage here and what would be the real bar, the real measure, Congress has to be part of it. Huh?
Congress, you would say Congress has to be part of it, but you have to pay attention to the kind of cachet he has to compel them to do his bidding. And knowing that he is the kind of individual that's basically had control of the Republican Party since 2016, basically has had the power, or at least came across as having the power to get other folks removed from elected office because he can turn their constituency against them because they're not doing his bidding to some degree. They've walked around with fear. And that's one of the things that I've argued on so many occasions with so many Democrats that I know. They hang on to his every word. Just like Bill just said, there are certain things he knows he can't do, but he knows politically it looks good. And because politically it looks so good, he rallies the troops behind him and compels those who are supposed to be on his side to act in accordance with his wishes. And if you don't do it, you're going to get bounced out of there. He knows that. And as a result, they were always fearful of going against him, even when he was out of office, when he was in Mar-a-Lago and Joe Biden was in the presidency. How many times did we see one Republican after another walk around looking like deer in headlights, scared out of there, you know what, to utter a negative syllable about this man? Why? Because they knew it would get themselves in trouble. And this is what happened. And so now he's back in office. And because he's back in office, he proved that the cachet wasn't.
Give the channel a like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal. At the end, I'm going to give you my takeaway about Donald Trump and why you have to prioritize. And he's talking about the funny country and what's going on in the Middle East. Big news as of February 5th. It happened before, but we're going to talk about it after we listen to these two. Stephen A. Smith, Bill O'Reilly on with Chris Cuomo.
It wasn't just about him bloviating. It was very, very real because he is now the 47th president of the United States of America. If he had them compelled to do what he wanted to do before, what do you think they're going to be like now? I don't want to say the word puppet, but it applies.
I feel like you said it. Bill, you want to be a great man. Looking at your book. Looking at your book about the presidents and then take it wherever you want. But Bill, I just want to make a point that's in your book. Every one of the presidents that you take time in the book to kind of highlight as a standout did something that they couldn't accomplish on their own. Do you think that President Trump is aware that the guys on Rushmore were not solo acts?
No, because he doesn't. That's not what he does. He doesn't analyze.
You didn't read the book?
I have a patent, Stephen. No, I think he watched the News Nation special. I know he watched it.
Like everybody else. You kicked my butt on Friday. Oh, I can't believe you didn't call me.
But it's not hard to do that. But anyway,
sad but
Stephen
true.
A.
Yes, sir.
I have a patent on the word bloviate, by the way. So every time you use it, I get a quarter.
Okay. Well, I'll give you $1.
This Donald Trump thing isn't new.
Right.
So Lyndon Johnson perfected this. Lyndon Johnson, as head of the Senate, if you didn't do what he wanted and you were a Democrat, it was going to be bleak. And Nancy Pelosi was the smoothest operator. She basically said, look, you vote my way or you're not getting a dime from the DNC to run for re-election, and we'll primary you and you'll lose. So this is not new. And you're correct in Donald Trump intimidating his own party. But remember, the things that he wants to do, that Trump wants to do, he wants to do them fast. Mm-hmm. And that's good. That's a good thing. So he's saying, look, get on the train here. And if you're not on the train, I'm going to boot you and get somebody else who will be on the train. I don't see that as a bad thing. As long as the legislation, like the Lake and Riley bill that passed yesterday, and 12 Democratic senators voted for it, and the loons who didn't vote for it, boy, I mean, it's stunning. So you think it's okay for a foreign national to be arrested for a crime and not be turned over to the immigration authorities? That's what you're voting against?
It was a bad look. It's like the Nancy Mace bill.
Come on.
Yeah, it was like the Nancy Mace bill. It just doesn't make sense.
The one thing I wanted to say, getting back to the Democrats, is disregard. You have to be careful to not fall for the okie doke, for every little thing that he throws out there. Because like Bill said, there's certain things that he's doing just for pomp and circumstance to make it look good. And he knows he's not going to necessarily get it done. But that doesn't stop them from overreacting to it. And if you overreact to it and use every little soundbite that he throws out there, or every little insignificant act that you know he's not going to be able to push through, and you react to that, you're reminding Americans of why they voted against you in the 2024 election. You cannot do that. If it's something substantive that's a real threat in your eyes that you feel he can push through, react to that. Make it real. But when it's something that you know is going to amount to nothing, why engage him in that? Because you're falling right into his trap when he does that, because he has proven in terms of headlines, in terms of sizzle, in terms of...
Okay. I've had enough. Let's still look at the strip here. The strip of land about 7,000 miles away from me. This segment with Bill O'Reilly, Stephen A. Smith, and Chris Cuomo started out with Chris Cuomo asking Bill O'Reilly, hey, Bill, what do you think Trump should prioritize? how do you think he can get it done? That's basically the question.
The litigation, he can't really get it done himself. What do you think needs to happen for him to get Congress to act on what matters?
So he wants to, there's a lot there. How do you get him to act and what matters? We found out February 4th that Donald Trump had a press conference with the president of the country that we affectionately refer to as the Hats. And he went over there with the Hats. Kind of makes sense that Hatfield and McCoy basically over there. He went over there with the Hats and he did a press conference. He pulled out the chair and pushed it in for the president of the Hats. Like a good little servant, he got a gold pager as a gift, like a good little boy, spelled with a G. At this event, Trump outlined a proposal for the United States to, quote, take over the war-torn strip over there in the aftermath of the conflict. This was a part of Trump's remarks on how to handle the strip following months of devastating fighting. And I'm not talking about a club. I'm talking about the very small strip of land. What did Trump say? Trump said, this is what he's prioritizing. It's February 5th. So he's basically 3 weeks, not even 3 weeks in. A month would be the February 20th. He said, he declared that the U.S. will take over the strip, I'm paraphrasing, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous, unexploded things and other weapons on the site. Level the site and get rid of the destroyed building. That's pretty specific. That's pretty specific. 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks into his presidency, and one of his big press conferences, his first joint press conference, Chris Cuomo asked, what is he going to prioritize? How is he going to get it done? Well, this is easy. It's because of the tiny hats, so Congress will approve. And he was pretty specific, and I'll translate that for you. What President Trump, who has done some good things, but we have to be honest about this, what he has prioritized is doing a cleanup job for the hats. And he has prioritized putting your sons, maybe even daughters, their lives at risk for a real estate development plan. Cleaning up the sand, all the mines and traps and all the pitfalls, and there's still combatants out there. I don't know if it's going to happen, but Trump casually said it. So sometimes it's really not about how you're going to leverage Congress to get stuff done. It's how you're going to leverage Congress to put reins on a guy who's controlled by another nation.
The next clip is ready below. Welcome to After Show Carnage.